Hello everyone, I am Wardy. I'm back with more StarCraft 2. I know, you're surprised, you're shocked. More StarCraft, Wardy? It's almost like you didn't do this every single day of the year already. I know guys. I'm full of surprises, as today we've got more ZvT. Oh my god, also shocking, right? In the bottom right-hand side, our red Zerg player is Reynor, taking on the blue Terran. In the top left-hand side, this is Cure. Well, we cast a lot of TVZ because there's a lot of good matches in TVZ, and it's a matchup which you guys seem to enjoy more than the others, so welcome back to more TVZ. This is from the Alpha X Code CD, a $2,000 tournament in honor of Cynical Death, who is a very cool guy who actually pretty much does the majority, not all of, but he does like a lot of the Liquipedia editing and making sure players have, or people, organizers have their events on Liquipedia, keeps it up to date and everything. And all of that stuff. Oh my god. Can we just take a moment to recognize that Reynor just completely missed these racks? Okay, well, this is very unfortunate for Reynor as this proxy rack starts up. But just to very quickly say one more time. Again, shout out to Cynical Death. Awesome guy. Does a lot for the scene behind the scenes. Now Reynor gets to see this, will jump on the SCVs. And also shout out to Alpha X putting on this tournament in his honor. And obviously selling the replay packs. This tournament's still ongoing as the time of recording. So you guys can actually head on over to the Match Arena page to get the replays of this, or maybe catch it live on their Twitch channels. If you search Alpha X, I'm sure you'll find more of what you need. But this game's obviously getting interesting with the racks being spotted and the drones now pulled. There's a lot of drones to try and stop these Marines from getting out. So the idea is, oh, he nearly gets a full surround on the first Marine. Reynor's given up a lot of economy to basically say, okay, let's just stop this in its tracks. And I mean, if you get these SCVs, you really stop. Oh my god, he gets another Marine. This surround is huge. So it's a lot of lost mining time. But right now, it's completely working out because obviously you're putting a lot of pressure on the Terran. But the Terran player is in a bit of trouble behind this. Yes, the two racks can generally transition, but yeah, it's such a weird scenario, right? You've got two barracks on the map. You've got nothing else. But then there's so many drones. It's 11 workers off the mineral line, half of Reynor's economy. As Cure just lifts up and goes home now. Look how much Cure is mining more on the bottom right of your screen. 1,000 minerals to 500. Gas already mining. Interesting setup. Of course, it does mean Reynor doesn't have to make too many more lings or anything to defend this. And he can just build it into a very normal, I suppose, build from this point on. Obviously, was not so normal to get to this point in the first place, however, as we do see the two racks will fly on home. A couple of lings coming across the check. And I'll look to see what's going on. Well, sorry for a bit of a rushed intro, guys. Obviously, the proxy racks makes you have to respond to things, as here we'll actually cancel a reactor and build a single Hellion to deal with these slings first. Obviously, just want to say as well, this is a YouTube exclusive. Always love doing these. Found some time, a day off the other day, so found some time to cast some YouTube stuff for you guys, or YouTube-only stuff for you guys. If you do enjoy, consider hitting that subscribe button. At this time of uploading, we will have hit our 20,000 YouTube sub goal, which is awesome. So let's just keep pushing it further. I don't have another goal in mind just yet. But let's just keep pushing it and see what crazy things we can do with the channel. And yeah, thank you so much for all the support. It's awesome. Obviously, also, as usual, leave a like in the video as well. It's very simple to do. Takes a second or two. Helps the video out massively if you guys leave a like. And yeah, I appreciate all of that. With that said, talking over, let's really focus up on where this game is going, because Cure is going to opt for a fusion core. So Cure choosing to go into a fusion core already is going to get into battle cruisers here in the fairly near future, as the lings getting some damage done. So many drones just not mining there as the Queen finally gets there, picks off this Hellion. And yeah, we are going to see a battle cruiser with Reynor, though, knowing about it, gets in and sees the fusion core already. So he knows the battle cruiser is going to be the next step of this. And hey, with where these barracks are positioned from Cure, this kind of feels like he's not going to go into bio as a follow-up. We have been seeing a lot of 1 BC bio play, but this is, with the barracks completely out of position to build tech labs and so on, this absolutely feels as though it's going to be mech here, so maybe a bit of mech from Cure, and we haven't seen a lot of mech in TVZ as of late. It's definitely been the style which has been lacking in the TVZ, so interesting there as a couple of Hellions will finish up on the factory. They will come down to the low ground. It's going to be 4 Hellions in total here at the moment as they move out into the center. 8 Zerglings continue to produce here from Reynor. And he's just going to make sure he has the numbers. Still doesn't have link speed, though. Obviously didn't go for the gas for a long time after that weird start where he pulled off all of his drones from the minerals. And yeah, definitely suffering from a lack of gas mining still from now. And hence a delayed speed. The Lings position themselves well. And even with slow Lings, he's going to find somewhat of a surround. Very good unit movement here. And Cure has almost been baited into this to then just lose all of the Hellions, which is a real shame. Now, if he is going to end up playing mech, then Hellion loss isn't really a big deal, although it looks like he's ready to switch hard into bio. So in the end, these racks are going to relocate over. I'm going to take a reactor and a tech lab, so it looks like we will see a bio switch. It's a little bit off from what you usually see. You can see Q's got a lot of gas in the bank, so you could have already started Sim, for example, if he built up this tech lab on the racks on his own. Oh, what the... That's a gap in the wall off. So Cure's going to have Lings in the natural. Fortunately, these two Hellions were back at home. These were the final two remaining, and obviously he just pulled off the factory from the reactors. So if these weren't here, he might have been in some real trouble there as the BC teleports across and really doesn't do much at all. Overlord gets a transfusion. Reynor keeps that alive. Really good defense from Reynor as the continuation of this game plays out. And Q are now just going to switch into bio, so it would be great if this BC could start to get at least a little bit of something done. A queen here, maybe a couple of drones, because you want something for this investment. And yes, it can go home, repair, and come back again later, but even that is not really... You want more than that, right? You know, doing damage later doesn't make up for the investment you've made into this right away. Yes, he's forced spore crawlers, and there's 3 spores on the map. You know, getting this overload, just little bits of damage, and this actually supply blocks Reynor, and those little things go further than you realize. And as Reynor has identified the fact that this is indeed not going to be mech, it seems. I don't know what he's seen. I think just the lack of continued Hellion production. So he has decided to go into the melee upgrades. He's scrapped any production that he had planned for that Rotoron. And just into melee upgrades, into the Baneling Nest. With the Rotoron up, he could play Lingbane Ravager. I'd more so expect a different tech choice on the lair, though. Especially because he didn't build Roaches already, right? If there's already Roaches on the map, Lingbane Ravager becomes a fairly suitable comp, but you still kind of transition out of it a lot of the time. Let's see as this bio unloads out into the center. Some creep tumors already being cleaned out as the BC around the bottom side will get a couple of creep tumors as well. It's taking down a couple creep tumors already. Bane Nest is finished up, and he's going to go for the Hydralisk Den. So, not going to go into Mutalisks, and it is something that Reynor said to me recently. He was like, Wardy, I'm done making Mutalisks in this matchup. They just keep dying. Which kind of makes sense. I mean, just do tend to die a lot of the time in ZvT, but they're not really designed to fight, right? So, Reynor going for the Hydra Den. It doesn't surprise me simply for that reason, the fact that I talked to him the other day, and he really did say that he just was kind of done with Mutalisks. So, it's interesting to see how he's going to play the Hydra style out, because it's not like he's never played a Hydra Lingbane style in his life. Obviously, this is a style which works. It is a style that's tried and tested. It has just fallen off in popularity. Now, Q's already set up well to kind of deal with this. Siege Tank production, he can stay on Siege Tank production. That will be very important because the Siege Tanks really do a great job of holding that back line and really being able to hold the Hydras off from ever being able to swarm forwards or anything. 2 Hellions, these Marines on from Cure. All of this pulling up to the top as we'll see 2 more tanks, these Marines and Medivacs, all going to the upper side. Lings are going to start running in, and the Bane's looking for a little bit of action here as well. There's a couple tanks siege and turn into fire. A Baneling or 2 going down. On the bottom side, this battle cruiser continues to make its way toward the front. And the Marines, the Hellion, all of this around the side as well. It's going to be seen now +2 melee, +2 carapace, continuing in from Reynor, and the muscular augments will be finishing on the Hydralisk Den as well. So again, that muscular augment's up and running. A few more drones on the way, as these medevac is going to be coming through and setting that up. A couple of tanks here from Cure will set up as well. I'm just going to be seeing our Queens having to be a little bit careful there. As the Marines coming in already. A little bit of back and forth. This Hellbat gets on top of one of those Queens and does good damage. As on the bottom side, this battle cruiser set up and able to deal some good damage. Already jumping in on this Queens. The Queen taking quite a few shots as the Banes continue to roll down this ramp, but the tanks are there to be able to push the Banes away. It's a good position from Cure. It's difficult to get down these ramps as the Zerg. You really need a flanking maneuver to deal with that, but obviously being kept busy by the battle cruiser at the same time doesn't help, as these Marines made it all the way forward, able to get rid of the Queens, and there's just no Banelings here, and if there's no Banelings here, you never really stop this as Reynor. and already feels like he's taking maybe a bit too much damage. Now, that said, if he cleans this up and stabilizes a little bit, he's very far ahead on 2-2, and I do wonder if there's maybe some potential for Reynor to get back in with a big fight on his 2-2 upgrades. You know, just like a swarm of Lingbane Hydra across the map with 2-2. The Hydra upgrades are going to be done. I just don't think that's something he really wants to commit to too heavily, because the Infestation Pit from Reynor is on the way up in the main base. So it already looks like he wants to go up to the Hive Tech there. As these Lings will run in, these Marines Medivacs have to lift off, and they will be brought, the Medivacs, back to the top side, where they will be able to unload. More Lings in the center as the Hydras work their way through the rocks here, and just going to be seeing the Hive on the way from Reynor on the natural. So yes, the choice is to go Hive. He's not just going to wander across the map with pure Lingbane Hydra. Probably not the best decision. Simulacrum is a hard map to attack into 3 bases on, and it was just 3 bases from Cure in all of this. 3 bases, no 8 racks or anything, just 5 racks, and just a little bit slower into the 4th base, but 4th base does eventually come through, and he's moving into the extra racks in the factory now as we have a bit of bio. Getting on top of this Queen, this hatchery taking some shots as well. Banes, Lings, and Hydras already thinking about moving through, but I just don't think you can do that without an attack from this left side as well. You really need something to split up this tank damage, and at this point, Reynor just says, yeah, I don't have it, so he gives up this base. Doesn't even have this base on the bottom side ready yet, but the bigger issue is the fact that he's taken that base on the bottom side and it has no creep in front of it, so it's extremely difficult to defend, and Cure getting this base pick off really makes this base down on the bottom side that much more vulnerable, because yes, Reynor might be out there, but if you're going to try and defend this base, you're going to be taking some pretty bad fights. So that's something to watch out for as the bio of Cure back into the center, and will come through for a few more creep tumors. So a little bit more creep being cleaned out. The Medivacs will load that bio up as these tanks from Cure will unsiege. +3 attack on the way from Cure already, and the +2 vehicle plate. And so continuing with the plating upgrades for the tanks. Interesting that you go plating and not attack upgrades for the tanks against Hydras. Obviously, the plane does help the tanks survive longer. It's just usually, as far as I'm aware, you usually go weapon upgrades on the mech just to help kill the Hydras faster. I'm actually not too sure about that. That's one that I haven't really done the math on recently. Just trying to think. 25 damage. Yeah, I really feel like usually... Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, I guess. Let's see how it plays out. I feel like you need an attack upgrade to help kill the Banelings maybe faster than usual, like so you can like properly 2-shot Banes. Anyways, we're going to be seeing these Banes crashing in here, and it might not matter because those Banes had terrible connections. All of it across Marauders, all of it across Siege tanks, and if the Banes are landing on tanks and Marauders, the Marines are going to follow through after, and so, you know, then it doesn't really matter how much these tanks are doing. In the end, the armor, the plating on the tanks works nicely because the tanks just soaked up maybe an extra Bane shot or 2. And that's obviously pretty big here. These Marines will just be left to trade out as best they can. A Baneling does find a decent connection. 14 workers already down, and now Cure is in the natural expansion, and Reynor is being overrun. There's a lot more drones going down here. 30 workers down. And it does feel like that first attack from Cure up on the top side really was the beginning of this game kind of falling out of control for Reynor. You can kind of see it as a couple of tanks get brought in, but this kind of dip in army supply is when Reynor finally cleaned that up. It just took him so long to clean that up, and it cost him so much. He's never really recovered from that difference, and so he's just never been able to fight again since then. So Cure really playing a good style. I like the tanks as well. He was playing tanks before he knew it was Hydras, and he obviously intended to utilize the ledges here on Simulacrum to his advantage, and he did it very, very well. As he'll take a fight here without the tank sieging, but Reynor doesn't even want to see it out, as Cure will take the first map of this best of 3 just like that. Cure going to go up 1-0 over Reynor. And I don't know if I actually mentioned this was best of 3 earlier, but yes, it is best of 3, guys. Obviously, again, sorry for a little bit of a rushed intro into this game, but just in case you didn't hear it, because I was panicking about the fact there was a Proxy Rex, this is from the Into the Alpha Rex Code CD tournament, which is honoring Cynical Death, a really cool guy helping out with the Wikipedia and updating tournaments a lot of the time and stuff, so that everyone can use the Wikipedia to keep on track of stuff happening live and get all the information, map orders, and everything. He's part of a team that really do spend a lot of time on the Wikipedia edits, but Cynical Death especially really does help out a lot. So shout out to Cynical Death. Shout out to AlphaX putting this tournament on as well. I want to give credit to them. This is their tournament. I do buy their replays off their Match Arena pages. I'm sure you guys can do the same if you want to Google it up. You'll be able to find them fairly easily. With that said, let's go into a game number 2 here between Cure and Reynor, as Cure does lead 1-0 in the best of. Game number 2 starts on Nightshade, as in the bottom right-hand side, our blue Zerg player. This is Reynor. Taking on the red Terran in the top left, we do have Cure. And this time, he's once again going to send out those SCVs and get a little bit proxy-friendly in the early stages of the game. Obviously, Cure still in the GSL at the time of me casting this. I will not say when I cast this specifically, but he's having a very good run. Just to help you guys avoid spoilers. But yeah, he really is having a good run. And what's always interesting is when these guys still play online events, when they're still in the GSL, especially in the later stages, because you've got to start wondering, how much do they want to show? You know, how much are they really practicing the matchups they're maybe not going to be playing in, you know, playing in terms of in the GSL? You know, they're generally very focused on one matchup per week while they have their next match lined up. I do wonder if that plays into a little bit of the fact that Cure here opens with the proxy racks for the second game in a row. I do actually really wonder what sort of... I really felt like Reynor came out in an alrightish position in the last game. I think he was in an alright position. I actually think Cure was ahead after all of those drones pulled. But the defense against the BC and the Hellions was actually so good that it actually probably evened out the game more than anything else, right? Because being able to defend those Hellions with the Solings and the BC getting very little, I really think that was very critical for Reynor staying alive and being able to pull that game into a longer setup. Reynor now sees the SCV, so now he knows the actually open pool first here, something I didn't mention just yet. I thought we'd wait for the shock of the Zerglings showing up. So yes, this attack is not going to do too much here from Cure. Already having the Lings up means it's very difficult to get a bunker down at any point. And he's even going to pull the drones. Now, the drones have the extra speed over the Lings, so they can push through that little bit faster and really chase down the Marine more easily. Catch it up that little bit more frequently. As you can see them continue to chase right now. He really wants to just chase this all the way back to the racks and really just shut this down hard, as SCVs will join the fight. They die. 2 SCVs down. We don't see any drone kill counter on the left-hand side just yet. There it is. Loses 2, loses 3. But a couple of Lings left, and they will just go chasing these Marines as well. As that Marine will go running, but he cannot run forever. 2 more Lings showing up as well, and there's 1 more Marine that might just try and get a choke point position, but yeah, not much else to really be done. Reynor's already drawn up behind this, of course, and up a hatchery over his opponent. Generally, this should be a much better setup. Yes, again, he did lose mining time for a significant portion of time, but the makeup he should get from this now, because he can drone pretty freely, I think that really should help him out a lot. It's a lot less time where he pulled all those drones compared to the last game. The last game, he had those drones pulled for over a minute or 2, right? Much longer than what he had them pulled for here. As Cure set up at home. Command center, factory building a Hellion in the starport. Very similar to what happened last game, as these Lings are going to get up and then blocked off. Hellion will be there to defend and push those Zerglings back down to the low ground. So Lings back down to the low ground. The racks continue to the upper left. Starport is about halfway done. There's a couple more drones in production. The extractor from Reynor now finishing, so it will again be a fairly late Ling speed, considering, because that gas doesn't come up early on in the game. I must say I'm kind of surprised he pulled the drones rather than just keeping the Lings here and just zoning these units out, but it does shut down all those Marines. It means you can't use the Marines as a follow-up at all. I mean, I guess it gets you to a point where you can just stop building Lings a little bit faster as well. As Cure's about to be on CC number 2, as soon as you're on the second base, that basically means you're then able to get the mules going again. Until then, being down a few workers definitely hurts, because you're obviously down a mule from where you might usually be. You've not had this production. So Reynor's going to come out of this about 15 workers ahead, I think. There or thereabouts. And that's a real good spot for him. Of course, it is a later third hatchery as well. So that has something to come into play as well, right? Because he's also hitting full saturation now on 2 bases. So the question is, does he keep droning and just take extra gases already? Or does he actually just cut drones and make some units? Well, what do you really make? If you're going to make Lings, they don't have Ling speed yet, as the Hellions coming to the front. The Queens getting themselves into position very quickly to deflect those Hellions, make sure they aren't able to come through for too much damage at all. The Liberator now building in the main base of Cure, and he will go for Liberator as a bit of harassment here. So no battle cruiser follow-up this time around, and this time no confusion as to whether this may be a bit of mech from Cure or not. It looks as though we will just have bio from the get-go. And Reynor is indeed going to make a round of Lings and a Baneling Nest here. He was up about 15-ish, Workers up 12 now before he cuts to make a lot of units. Like I said, he's getting to that third base, so he could start to saturate this a bit. Overlord will go down to a Viking. That's a bad supply block, and the two Overlords have to start up in response to it. I'm a little bit... Is Reynor just going to go, like, counter Bane Burst or something? Because he starts a lair. I was just wondering, there was so many Zerglings being made, and it just felt as though with the Bane Nest coming through, it was just missing something, right? It was like, where's the lair, or where are the Evo chambers? He kind of needed one or the other there, it felt like, to sort of say, hey, this is my next step in this game. This is the next part of my plan. It just didn't feel like he really had that initially. But yeah, the lair did start up, so kind of answers my question as the Lings. Well, they're going to show how useful they are right now as they want to come in. These Hellions in a bit of an odd spot. Things coming around. They will get in from the left and from the top. They will get us around. These Hellions all go down. And now we have the Liberator of Cure. He's going to siege up in the main base. So Liberator is going to get siege. A Spore Crawler comes over, will burrow up, and the Liberator gets forced away. And there is a Viking of Cure on the right-hand side, able to deal some damage. This Overlord going to get picked off. Will go down. So this Viking's actually having a great time. His 5 drones full. That's its 3rd kill of the game. 3 Overlords, really nice slowdown on Reynor's economy, especially because now he's been supply blocked multiple times when he'd love to drone because he's just cleaned up so much on the map. You can see as soon as he comes out of this supply block, drones start. But yeah, that's really nice for Cure here, who's also going to be ahead on the upgrades because Reynor prioritized the Baneling speed. Feels like Reynor's just playing a little bit off, a little bit sloppy compared to what we might usually expect from him. As this Viking goes back over to the left-hand side, 1 upgrades coming up. Stim pack about to complete, and 2 more medevacs in the production on this starport. ZvT of Cure pulls back around into the natural, going to drop off some minerals. CC going to drop down into the front. 3rd location already taken. I guess that question becomes, here on Nightshade, are we going to see that 8-rack style? Obviously right now Cure's just on the 3 racks. Maybe a little later on certain things than he would like to be. It really should be in the near future that we kind of find out. Are we going to see that row of racks build up, or is there something else planned? He is still continuing to build siege tanks, which is a pretty good indicator that at the very least he wants to be continually aggressive in this game. It will be tough with all of the creep spread on the map from Reynor. One of the big things about the map control he's established here, all that creep will stop a lot of these fights from getting into positions, as we're going to see Q actually attempting to go to this left side initially. Tanks behind these rocks can obviously stay fairly safe and reach over to protect this area if that's where the Marines want to fight. But there's already a Ling counterattack from Reynor running across, and that's 5 SCVs right off the bat. And only a couple of Lings lost for it, so it's a good start from Reynor, already slowing down that economy. Maybe making Cure think twice about committing through. Cure not really wanting to commit through until 1-1 is done. There's still a larger amount of Lings now, and these Marines have to stim again. There's no medevacs back at home, so that stim is very deadly. And it means that those Marines are very low, and if you want to fight them, you probably can. The reinforcements are probably what really stops you from jumping on them, though. That's Cure. Set down the bottom. This is a big supply block. No supply depots building. So that's going to hurt him. I mean, okay, he's actually going to lose some units. Yes, he'll be able to rebuild soon, but yeah, it still means that now maybe you see a counterattack of Reynor just as Cure has been slowed on his production lines for a few seconds. So it's really a bad time to be getting counterattacked. Funnily enough, Reynor actually jumped on that as 1-1 was done for the Terran, and he's still upgradeless, but he'll have the Carapace upgrade for a fight now. And a Carapace upgrade is already kind of hard. It's more than half the battle. You know, the Carapace is by far the more important upgrade in these ZvT engagements in Ling versus Bio. So yeah, this is massive, and well, already starting with some Baneling connections. Here you go. Reynor's going to run at this. He knows his Marines in this medevac. He knows his units on the bottom side, so the Lings are just going to overwhelm out in the front. Overwhelm so much that Q's going to type GG. He can't hold on. And Reynor will take a game 2, tie us up 1-1 in this best of 3. And we are going to start to go the distance here in this matchup. I like it. I like it a lot. You guys know I like a bit of TVZ, and if we get to game number 3 out of it, well, it's usually always a good one. Right, we will go into our third map then without any delays. It's Reynor and Cure. Go into that final map in just a moment. The third map always should be a good one, as in the bottom left-hand side, our red Zerg player is Reynor. Taking on the blue Terran on the top right-hand side. Oh no, he did not change from games number 1 and 2. It is still Cure. But he has changed his strategy. No SCVs going across the map. No proxy racks here going into a game number 3. I do feel as though it's been a series where Cure kind of looks at his proxy racks and says, well, the second one definitely didn't do well. And the first one, he probably doesn't feel so sure about, because I actually think he wasn't into... I guess I don't think Reynor was in a bad spot coming off of the proxy. Obviously, I think it just becomes very predictable again, especially if Reynor goes pool first. The last game, if he's willing to go pool first, then you've got to be willing to accept the fact he might go pool first again. Then your proxy really just isn't going to do that much, like we saw in game number 2. As this drone out up the left-hand side and a way to try and see just a bit of what will be going on. Answer, not a lot. He's really just scouting for a proxy that doesn't exist, so poor old Reynor just sending a drone. I'm very paranoid about proxies. I know he hates playing against them. He's been very vocal about his thoughts on ZvT as of late, and this time it's really showing, you know, the lengths to which he will go to make sure he doesn't just kind of randomly die here or anything. As this drone will pull back down to the bottom left-hand side. An Overlord of Reynor out to the right, continuing to move to the upper right side. An SCV of Cure will go down to the bottom left, so he's going to scout for the first time now. Just ahead of his Reaper popping out, really just wants to know, is this a hatchery first? Can I send my Reaper across the map? Because if Reynor did go pool first defensively, but then doesn't find a proxy racks, those lings can be coming across the map, and then you want your Reaper back at home. Otherwise, you get into trouble with your CC. He comes in, he sees the hatchery first. You can tell by how much creep spread is on the front here as well, and just by the fact that the hatchery is finished. So he knows what's up. Reaper will come across the map. There's already one Marine building from Cure behind this, and then he'll probably just go straight into that reactor. So you can start up his Hellions and really get into a nice controlled opening in the early stages of the game. So the Reaper of Cure heading down to the bottom left is going to come in already, and a couple shots off on a drone. Grenade dropping down there, able to deal some decent damage as the Zerglings coming back around, running after that Reaper just a little bit. And just having now a couple of lings. Actually going to be able to get one of the lings already going down. So one ling already picked off. As you just see our command center from Cure going to be finishing on the natural. As the Reaper is just finding its way out alive. So it doesn't go for a scout into the main. I don't think he's afraid of a roach run or anything just yet. And he still has the Reaper here as well, right? So he still has pretty good info. He's like, okay, well, I'd see anything that's coming across the way. I don't need to go into that main base to see what's up. It might be nice if you run and see a roach run, but it's also not great if you lose the Reaper and lose some map control. I wonder if Cure knows the third base is up already, though, because he hasn't gone across to check it. But he's also not been so active with the Reaper at the front that, I mean, obviously he's not been active enough because this hatchery has gone down. So I do wonder if he just, maybe just assumes it's there, because to not check it at all is kind of interesting, even right now. In fact, I think he must know. Maybe he saw the drone going over and he just didn't give a, you know, didn't give it the attention to chase it, but he knows it went over there, so... yeah, I feel like that's the most likely scenario. As a couple of Marines will go after this Overlord, and they'll get the kill. Overlord should be able to see some of the add-ons set up, and he will see that this is a starport without an add-on, so he should have a good read on, well, it's potentially a Viking, Medevac, or a Liberator, right? But, you know, you look at this, what kind of builds could it really be? As the two Hellions and the Reaper into the center, Liberator continuing to build from Cure. There is the Overlord of Reynor still sat to the left-hand side with the two Hellions and a Reaper. Just watching for any drones in that third base, but they aren't there. And Cure's been very careful as well, keeping two Hellions at home at all times, just in case Reynor does run lings across the map and look for damage on the natural expansion. Of course, Reynor shouldn't do that. He only sees two Hellions at the front, and so if you only see two Hellions, you kind of know the others are back at home, right? So, only seeing two, he will not make any attempt to run by. And he's just going to go straight to those evolution chambers, so will not go for the faster lair, will be playing for the faster upgrades instead. As our Liberator comes across to the far left-hand side, we'll take a turn down the left. And where does it want to go? Does it want to jump in on top of these drones? Perhaps. Does it want to jump in on top of these drones? Perhaps as well. I mean, you don't even have to go in with the Liberator just yet. You can just sit between the natural and the third and then choose a little bit later where you do want to go. This is going to be 8 Hellions, so a few more than usual. Definitely a bit of aggression. Plenty here from Cure. He dives in. You can see the Zerglings are very scared to go for it. This Liberator does end up finding a couple of drones plus the Queen kill, so that means it's even more difficult to get rid of. And now it's just going to go and resiege here, but the Queen already on it. I think it goes down if it unsieges and tries to relocate, so Reynor can get back to mining pretty quickly. The Hellions, though, are showing up, but there's a few links set up for the wrap around. The Queens are going to come in from the side. Oh, the Reaper Grenade actually bounces the Hellions, maybe allowing the links to re-surround some of them. And he will actually get quite a few kills here, Reynor, cleaning up. An 8 Hellion investment, and okay, he gets a lot of lings out of it. He gets 5 drones overall here. Yeah, I think the Ling's obviously okay for this, but at the same time, you've got to remember that those 2 extra Hellions, they slow down the barracks a little bit, so it slows down the amount of Marines you have in the first push of the game. So yes, it strengthens up now to trade a bit better, but it does weaken a later attack by that little bit as well. As Reynor losing a few extra drones to this Liberator, though, and taking some damage. Here on Everdream, what are we really expecting from Reynor going into the mid-game? I wouldn't be surprised to see a Hydralisk Den again. This has been one of the maps he's been very happy to play Hydras on in the past. And I wouldn't be surprised to even see him maybe off the Hydra Den go into Lurkers a little bit later on. And play kind of a Ling Hydra Lurker style. This is a map where you can actually really easily hold a lot of your bases with just a few Lurkers here or there. A few Lurkers here. Obviously, this is a bad choke point, only way into the third base. Coming through the middle of the map, Lurkers across here. Really hold the main position you can fight in from as the Terran player. Same here. Choke point into this base. Just a lot of chokes into every single base, right? There's no one base that's really exposed by like a huge open area. Maybe down here, but this is a base you don't have to take until much later in the game. So it could make those Lurkers very good. That's if he wants to play them. Let's see. As right now, a drop into the main base. The Ling's up the right-hand side. And they will send one Ling forward to keep an eye on things, but he has to go send the units back because he's not ready for this drop at all. Cure comes running in. Already finds a kill on the first Queen. And will actually go for the spawning pool. He might just get it. There's nothing nearby still. Spawning pool goes down. Reynor doesn't even fight this. Not just yet. I mean, the longer he waits, though, right now he's going to lose an Extractor. He has the Carapace upgrade, loses the Extractor. Eventually he's going to go, of course. Cure just picks up and gets out of there the second he realizes this isn't a good fight for him. And that's a really nice drop as Cure establishes about a 20 supply lead in the game. +2 Carapace start from Reynor. And that's the one thing I think is worth really looking at here, that Cure is kind of playing on just a +1 attack upgrade. There's no second engineering bay. Well, there is. He just didn't put it to use. And that's a big mistake because it means he'll be behind an upgrade. And that could maybe come into play. Throughout the course of this, it could be one way for Reynor to just get a step back in this. Reynor under so much pressure, he definitely hasn't found the time to build a Hydra Den or a Spire or anything off the lair tech. He's just going to stick to the pure Ling Bane for the moment. There is a Hydra Den now coming down. Definitely a bit delayed from where he wants it to be, but how could he realistically have built it sooner and still been safe? On the good news, he does have that base on the top left that Cure hasn't seen yet, and Cure... I wonder if he maybe feels like this could be his potential 4th base. Surely not. 8 minutes starting up. It's just a bit late, even if you've done good damage, right? But, you know, was it the sort of damage to delay a 4th base? Not really. So I think Cure should have a fairly good idea, a reasonable idea about this. And he does already load off over to the far left side, so we'll find out very soon. But I imagine he knows that the 4th base is on the left-hand side. And I tell you what, there's not a lot of creep in front of that 4th base. As these tanks on the low ground are going to get some good shots. And this is such a frustrating position to fight if you can't get the flank around to clean it up. Reynor is just going to get dropped straight into this mineral line as well. So not only does he need to commit to 2 sets of units to clean this attack up, as he does get the medevac on the high ground. But he also needs to go and clean this attack on the top left up. And he's already losing drones to it. Secure starting to get some very good damage done. Or, well, I say starting, he's been doing good damage for a little while now. 7 more workers killed. He's going to be just a few workers behind overall. He has built a 4th base behind this too. Secure happy to let this go into a longer game. As Reynor finally on his way toward Hydralisks. The first Hydra in the production tab, but he is actually pretty rich here, Reynor. Is he just lava starved? He is. Doesn't have the lava he needs to really fight this. Fins come crashing through. The Zerglings get on top of the siege tank. The rest of the Marines will all continue to go down. And there's more Marines and tanks Up around to the upper left. Zerglings thinking about maybe going in on this Marine tank army. They don't commit just yet, and you can understand why there's so many Marines in this. There's only 11 Banes on the map. Well, it will be 2-2 against 1-1 for a few moments here at least, and even then, when +2 attack finishes, we're still late on that armor upgrade. He only just got the +1 armor going when he started +2 armor. Cure might not even know he's behind that armor upgrade. He might just have thought when he clicked the upgrades that he started 2-2, not 2-1. There you go, from a couple of angles. One of the tanks on siege. I mean, that's how to do it. Tanks will not get a lot of shots off, and these Banes actually go crashing in. There's not really enough medevacs to really lift up all these Marines either. Just about a few of them. Okay. That's just because so many of them were killed initially. Cure will go to the main base. Sees this base. Couple medevac. Queen's already here. The medevacs take a turn. And as Reynor goes hunting down in the top left-hand side, if he gets these medevacs, that would be huge. He gets all of the Marines. They didn't stop lifting, stop unloading in time. So that will just about do it, as well as these Lings run in for the wraparound again. This is the sort of scenario where no +2 armor for the Zerg player, for the Terran player, really begins to hurt, and Reynor is winning fight after fight at the moment. On top of this, Cure's macro is slipping just a little bit, so that's part of the reason he's also hurting during all of this. Drilling Claws building on the factory. +3 attack, +2 armor, +2 vehicle plating. All continuing to build as Lings, Banes, Hydras of Reynor out in the middle of the map, and we've got some Marines of Cure already coming into the center here, going to get a few creep tumor kills. Pushing through, more Lingbane Hydra going to start jumping in on this. Widow Mine goes off on a few Lings to the bottom side. This Widow Mine set off there as these Marines going to jump in on the Lings as well. Baneling goes off and picks those off. And there's that Lurker Den coming through as the Hive gets going as well. Obviously, the Hive is pretty much a necessity to play the Lurkers. The upgrades you get for the Lurkers off the Hive are so very important. The Reynor really just had a moment where he turned this game around. Look at this army advantage Cure had, definitely having a good early game, killing the spawning pool, etc. And he just kind of stumbled, stuttered, and fell. And then he really fell. And some really good fights here from Reynor, bringing them back in. This good split against the Widow Mine as well. Means they won't do too much. Now, though, Cure shows up on this base, and suddenly 12 drones go down. And in an instant, you can almost argue that this game has turned around again. He will turn for the hatchery, then lift and leave. Not enough Banelings to scare this army off before then. Well, if you do damage like that and you're on 4 bases and move into 5 of your own, this game can go on a while. You know, a 5th base can absolutely come down to this low ground. Very easy to hold. Doesn't really stretch you out too much further as the Terran compared to what you're already defending. Of course, we do have a new threat on the map from the Zerg player very soon, the Lurkers. As the Hive is done, Adrenal Gland starts as well with the Seismic Spine. So Lurkers are really going to be a big part of this Zerg army very shortly, because it's going to be the next step for Reynor to really level up from the Lair Tech. And it really should force Cure to play in a bit of a different manner. It should make Cure stop just playing kind of pure bio, and you can see already he's got Ghost Academy. That's personal cloaking, so he's going to go for the Ghosts already. The Ghosts give you that efficiency against the Lurkers. You can line up enough snipes and you can start sniping them down. So yeah, Reynor has the Lurkers up. That means Cure is going to find it more difficult to push into these positions. And Cure is going to realize that and start responding with the Ghosts then, as the Lingbane will go for a run by up to the top side. These bio units completely out of position. A few moments those Banes wanted to run at those depots, but the Banelings do end up turning back around. 3-3 upgrades about to finish. At least the +3 attack again. This +3 armor so delayed. All because he forgot the +1 armor initially. I think he only just realized that his +3 armor wasn't started or so, because he only just now started it rather than, you know, any... I don't know, like... It doesn't even start when, like, +2 armor finished, right? So, it's just brutal. It's just such a huge delay for Cure there. And while again, maybe the attack upgrade is the more important one, we've definitely seen some fights where the extra carapace or the extra armor upgrade would have made a bit of a difference for the Terran player. Brings up into the center, followed by the Lurkers, and what a catch this is. Multiple siege tanks surrounded by Zerglings. Lurkers get burrowed, and, well, Reynor's going to lose maybe a Lurker or 2 in this fight. Make that 3 as he tries to back away. I actually don't think the Lurkers need to join in there. Just catching the siege tanks alone was already a big win. Kind of surprised that Reynor did commit the Lurkers, because he didn't really need to lose anything for that. Oh, now he's going to see this army. Now he's going to try and jump on top of it. The Lurkers don't have adaptive talents yet, so they can't relocate as easily as they might like to. And they are going to get burrowed. They are going to get some damage done, but they will be cleaned out. as Cure will shut down, and he will be able to re-siege his tank and hold that bottom side position. This army in the corner is a little bit stuck. No lift up for a while from Cure. I mean, he is just eating Balin shots with Marauders, which you generally expect to be good for the Terran player. I love this. 2 empty medevacs just like, we're gonna drop. These Lingsmen's like, no, you won't. And the medevacs are like, we know we won't. We're empty. Fooled ya. As the bio shows up, a few creep teamers going down as well. More Lings running through. Gonna try and get in on top of the Marine and Marauder army here. The Lurkers don't really need to get involved in this, I don't think. They'll burrow just to... actually, I have no idea why. They really don't have much to do, right? If the bio keeps kiting away. It's still annoying. These medevacs keeping this army healed as Cure will make another attack up to the top. Worth mentioning, I think, that Cure is just rich. 2k in the bank. That said, Reynor's army definitely feels as though it's leveled up a bit lately. Definitely feels like that's maybe been some of the expense. We talked about the goats from Cure, but we've never even seen any. He even got a nuke up, but he hasn't built anything other than bio. So it is absolutely the case of Reynor's army at this stage. It's starting to cost that little bit more. And it's starting to be that little bit kind of tech heavier compared to the army of Cure. So let's see if it plays a role. As Reynor, he still has a bit of a bank of his own. It's just not as, you know, it's not as wealthy as what Cure has sitting behind. Maybe those Lurkers. I mean, obviously with the Lurkers, you expect to be able to trade well. Better than the 6k difference that you've seen so far in this game. So let's see if that's the case. For the moment, he is kind of... It does feel like he's having some trouble getting these Lurkers into fights without them being picked off. Reynor builds a hatchery here. It goes down in an instant. There's 300 more minerals he will not be getting back. As these Lurkers kind of hold their own for a moment or two, and all of the extra upgrades coming in from Cure, high-sec auto tracking. We got ourselves a Neosteel armor, upgrading the building armor. Actually goes a long way to helping. It's one of those upgrades that Terrans often get later game in TVZ nowadays, and it is just surprising how much it does against Bane run-bys, etc. even. Or just kind of, not so much Bane run-bys, but like Lings getting surrounds, and just any units that get a, you know, look to make a pick off on a building. Apart from Banelings, basically. Banelings just kind of insane either way. Ling's going to run through, and the Lurkers burrow up as this will be Bane's to go and clean out this mineral line. No response at all from Cure. What's very surprising is he doesn't lift up this CC, because now this CC is going to die. And losing that command center is a big problem, because now it makes replacing that bottom right base that much more difficult. Lurkers do get themselves out of trouble here. The Vipers somehow surviving. Obviously, once the Blinding Cloud on these siege tanks, as extra Lurkers show up, gets one Blinding Cloud on 3 tanks to start. Second Blinding Cloud? No, it was a Parasitic Bomb onto the Medevacs instead. Forces a split away. The Lurkers will get the fight to push Cure back. Medevacs have to load up. Medevacs have to take this army running. And Cure will set up to push again. Okay, I love this. Finally, some Liberators on the way. He's finally making that switch up in tech. It really has been a game where he's been on tanks, Marines, and Marauders and nothing else this entire time still. So that's really... It's getting to that point where that's expensive, right? Because it feels like he's had a lot of time, a lot of money in the bank where he could have teched up to Ghosts, he could have teched up to the Liberators. And those are things which are only going to help him out and help him trade. But yeah, instead he hasn't. I mean, he's building Liberators now, but there's no Fusion Core, there's no Liberator range. And that should, you know, that's one of the must-haves to really make these Liberators able to siege up far enough away that they're not going to be under, you know, abduct pressure from the Vipers every time. These Vipers, talking about abducts, get 2 great ones on tanks and help protect the Lurkers. On the south side, this hatchery finishes up. Still these Medevacs up overhead with the +1 vehicle weapons. Still building on the armory. Marines and Marauders and siege tanks from Cure will go back out into the center here. Cure's got an army over to the left side. A little bit of bio to come into this hatchery. Hatchery going to take some damage. It will go down. A couple of these drones already being picked off. A lot of creep spread in the middle of the map being picked away at as well as the Lings run in. Medevacs will lift up and back away to the bottom right-hand side. And again, a lot more bio, tanks, Liberators, and Medevacs all joined up together. Another command center from Cure. That's going to position itself to the 12 o'clock. There's our Lingbane Lurker army coming across as well. There's a couple of tanks already sieging up as well. I feel like there's not really enough here. What's big is if he can get these Banes to actually pick off this planetary. He has a couple of Banes up there, and you think he might just have the Lurker damage. He did get rid of a lot of the SCVs with the few Banes. Yeah, that's massive, because now again, it comes down to this point. You can't really replace this. There's a big drop from Cure across the map at the same time. These Lurkers are going to run back to try and help defend this. There's really just nothing in position there right away for Cure to defend that. And this attack is just trading out against Zerglings, which doesn't really do enough. The Vipers do need to probably regain some energy before they take another fight, so they'll have to slow down just that little bit. Medevacs of Cure back up to the top. 13 more Corruptors in production from Reynor. Really feels like this later game has been under his control for a while now. Look at the resources lost. It was about 5 minutes ago, right, when Lurkers first really started coming through onto the map and started to make their presence known. And since then, it just feels like Cure's not had any control. And again, now he's finally getting to Ghosts. He's finally gotten into Liberators. But has it all just been too late? Again, there was a time where Cure was very rich, full of bases on this map, and he decided to keep trying to fight this with an army comp that wasn't really ideal, quite simply. Iron Ghost up to the top side. The rest of this army from Cure rotating around the right. Lings, Lurkers, Corruptors, Vipers. All of this moving around in the center. A few more Ghosts in production. And +1 flyer attack on the Spire as well. Our army of Reynor looking as though it wants to come through here already as the tanks get sieged. The bio comes in. This army will not be able to commit there. I feel like this is a real feels bad man moment when your scout marine sees the hatchery in the bottom right corner. You're like, God damn, really? He's to the point where he's taking this space? I mean, there's not even creep around this space, and yet that's how confident Reynor is to just slap it down, get it going. Not really a care in the world at the moment. Plenty of Vikings building from Cure. If you can zone out these Vipers a little bit better, then maybe you can do a bit more to really help hold off this Lurker force without having the Lurkers just jump in on top of his siege tanks every time. The Vipers being able to get Abduct and Blinding Cloud so freely just makes every single fight that much better for Reynor, and is a big reason why Cure's just not been trading as well as he would have liked. It's basically been a 6k resource loss difference for about, what, 5, 6, 7 minutes now? So there's not been a single fight that's been efficient for the Terran, and this Lurker play was cute. Runs out of the scan range and then gets the reburrow. This is going to be a nice cloak up on the Ghost, though, and finally some snipes, and he'll clean up these Lurkers more easily. At the same time, Lurkers make the jump on the army to the top side, or the base on the top side. There was no army here. Cure is once again just out of position. Guess what, my friends? An orbital command cannot save itself, as the caustic spray is just going to get the kill. Doesn't manage to float away in time. I think the Corruptors would have gotten it anyways with their air attack. Okay, Cure, you deny the bottom right-hand side. But what else are you really doing? You're kind of dead in terms of economy. I guess you establish this base here. But losing this, you know, you're basically getting a base for losing a base. You're always being kept on what? 1, 2 base economy, 2.5 base economy. Whereas Reynor has 1, 1.5, 2.5. I guess Reynor's only 2.5-ish bases. It's just that Cure's bases never get fully saturated, so it's not even really the 2.5 base economy you're expecting it to be. That's why Reynor has again dominated this income graph for the past 7-ish minutes to a varying set of extents. Reynor will also, though, take caution and say, well, I'd like to get this bottom right base up if that's where you're focusing. Doesn't need to worry too much about protecting the top left side if the army of the Terran is down on this right-hand side. Corruptors fly into this, and they're just going to go straight in. The Banes are going to roll up, and those Ghosts have to keep running. The Lurkers just sit here and pick off the Planetary Fortress, and Reynor, it's again just a fight where he says, I can take it, and I can back away, and I can just rebuild my Ling Bane. If I can keep these Lurkers alive, keep my Corruptors alive, keep the expensive units from going down, I can make stuff happen from there. As a couple of snipes will find some exit kills on Lurkers, but that will be about all. Otherwise, again, Reynor is just rebuilding, and a ton of Zerglings already now starting to morph in some of those into Banes. And yeah, some of these Lings are just going to come through and find these Ghosts unprotected and able to get away. Cure's also got a run by heading into that top side base as well, which is pretty much dead of minerals anyways. It was just going to be another CC in trouble. Cure's going to give it up. He's going to type out the GG in a game where it felt like Cure had everything under control at one stage. Just got flipped, and it got flipped hardcore. Reynor is able to take this 2-1, and yeah, I think maybe even worth looking back at this game at points. Too long to maybe jump back in on the replay analysis, but there was just a couple moments in this game where Reynor took some very good fights, kind of flipped that switch and just said, okay, well, now you're on the defensive. And I really do feel a big part of this was maybe the missing armor upgrade, because some of these fights Reynor won went very well because the cleanup went much faster than usual because of the lack of an armor upgrade. And yeah, again, I really do feel as well, like Reynor was still struggling as he got onto Lurkers, right? The Hydras came in late, the Lurkers took a long time to set up onto Hive Tech. there was so long for Cure to take full advantage of that and move into Ghosts and Liberators. And what did Cure do? Build bio after wave of bio after wave of bio. And if you're just going to throw waves of bio at Reynor, eventually the kid's just going to be like, yeah, I mean, I've got Lurkers now. You're now running into Lurkers in every one of these fights. And I think that became really apparent because Reynor went from being like a 6k at a 6k deficit to keeping a 6k deficit. At the end of this game, he's at a 4k deficit and resources lost. So if that was just the efficiency difference. Instead of Reynor, after the same amount of fights, being twice as much down on resources lost, he continued to trade evenly. Plus, he got control of the economy. Well played game by Reynor. Honestly, I know he complains a little bit about ZvT at the moment. I know he's not super comfortable in the matchup, but when this kid gets onto like the Lurkers tech, it really feels very difficult to beat him. And Cure definitely not able to find the answer here on Everdream. My friends, this is going to wrap us up for this YouTube exclusive cast. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you really enjoyed, do consider subscribing to the channel. And let's continue pushing our channel into awesome territories of just coolness and viewership. And again, thank you so much for all of the support. Really great to see so many people enjoying the content, enjoying the videos. Thanks so much for all of your support, guys. And with that, I'll see you next time as we upload a video a day here on WardiTV, so don't miss the next one. Thanks so much once again, and see you guys next time.